sang bonde chöje yabo gönje lo sang se na che ba ne de she so de ye nang ga sen de ben de che de la ma ye ben zong ga da lo de be se na xin zhou电波业界业家学说，世界中国教育落着，介绍那位研究历史，照本本业老门这边，同的人民的那老家，以我学业那做没多。这些路标狼人之家，我想一日之间要做，是那心中结了是吧？感谢同门的人，另外一座米给姐姐，开不了东巴送姐妹的。宁年就帮长辈说说，宁面对的忙的多了，世界忙别人做的也，公布世界老千子吧，大家上班特别一张，其实老忙当班去了。社会快乐见证真，其他上边理解什么？上界世界超过二度，难道是因为想法？所有快乐超多命啊！他们让我说过让世界帮助民族的吧，然后今夜上面给我点当着我快乐，其实路上找不见的别英国人。世界上明明这边的人的，这边前面往过上边，对我们人中在上边，看见开边逐渐中高，路上找不下了说我，明明这边的人的。前面往过上面，对我人中在，开边逐渐从广路上找北上，说完的明明这边的人的，前面往过。上边的感觉开边中间中高，路上找别说完的旁边上边那么人不，大说几乎变的人数，高的前边可能结束，各种途径稳住制度。旁边上边那么人不，大说宁可让变的人数，高的前边可能。恰当的梦稳住制度，旁边上边那么人不，大说宁可让变的人数，高的前边可能。强求宁边把两把了，马上就没写了马日节马节马个难给我说让你一起去，就算因为用常在路这样他。 Gade, Gade, Para, Gade, Para, Sam, Gade, Bod, Deya, Da, Gade, Gade, Para, Gade, Para, Sam, Gade, Bode, So, Ha, Deya, Da, Gade, Gade, Para, Gade, Para, Sam, Bode, So, Gere, Dong, Da, Ya, Ju, Xie, Wa, Da, Me, De, Tenpa, Do, Je, De, So, So, Ju, Be, Da, De, Le, Yo, Sa, Xi, Be, Ye, Yo, Je, Me, Ya, Do, Da, Re, Ya, Ra, Le, Je, Ye, De, Ye, Ma, De, Sa, Ye, Je, Do, Me, De, Wa, Ye, Ro, Ge, No, Mo, No, Je, La, Je, Ma, Yo, Ye, Dang, Guru, Ra, Na, Man, De, La, Ga, Ni, Ya, Da, Yo, Me,
Sanje Shada
Dong, Je, Zhong, Nang, La, Zhang, Zhong, Ban, Zhong, Da, Ni, Ya,
Sa
Zo,
She
Da,
Da
Ge,
Ge
Shi,
Shi
Yun,
Ji
Je,
Ji
Be, So, Nam, Je,
Ro
Ro,
La
La,
Ve Je
San, Je,
Sanje
Zhong, Ba,
Ro
Ra,
Sho
Shu,
Sanje Shada
Zhong, Je, Zhong, Nam, La,
Ya
Zhang,
Jo
Zhong,
Wa
Ban,
De
Zhong, Da,
Da Ne Ja Sa She Da Ge Shi Ji Ji Ro La Ve Je Sanje Ro Ba Ra Sho Sanje
She,
Shada
Da, Zo, Je, Zhong, Nam, La,
Zhong
Zhang,
Sho
Zhong,
Wa
Ban,
De
Zhong,
Da
Da,
Ne
Ni,
Ja
Ya,
Sa
Zo,
She Da
Da,
Ge
Ge,
Shi
Shi,
Ji
Yun, Je,
Ji
Be, So, Nam, Je, Da, La,
Drola Beja Sanje
Da,
Droba
Ra,
Sho
Yo,
Simshe Tabje Tontu Tabja Lana Maba Yada Bazabe Sanje Kumar Ba Shening Tabashi Teacher the Tabe Shu Sanyan Bikunu Shanshi Se Juma Suji said and the Sebashis.
Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it Bodhisattva motivation, or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment or Buddhahood for the sake of all other sentient beings. With that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta, altruistic motivation, we should all participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of wisdom gone beyond prajnaparamita.
The Shundam the Dirija Karsa Zu Tabaka said Dima Kirikida. Unsu Tabaka said.
So where we left off, and we'll pick up and continue our discussion from the chapter on wisdom, is we already talked about refuting Ishwar, Wangju, a permanent being, as the cause of everything that exists. Now we are going to talk about how the primordial substance or principle, Jizo, which is also accepted as a permanent, can also not be a cause of everything that exists.
Nipal Shizu Dakpa Namju Namje Rangshin Bagawa Misa Gaba Deso so Tabaye Bagawa Dribu Jujusu Ngarmi Saji Misiba Gabe se Gaba Umabala Jomusumba Tembaus Tangbone Chela Soba Chela Sos Kangba Shushi Dancing Dayan Chu Devata Zo Shashi Demi Chela se Yumin Dosaje Rangshin Somyaba Yene Riba Mende Shashi Jigimba, he's at a Mississippi Jurishin. Mississippi Jurishin. The Messina, Tuman, maybe, Jig the Tumala, Jig the Tumale, Tume, Jigimba, Jig the Tume Dubi, she's at the Medu, Jewish Shirdan. Shashi Demi Jig Shasum Dube, she said Demi Jewish Shirda. Shashi Demi Jigda, Shasum Demba, she jigla Mugi Bishirosa, Dijend, Sola So, Rejalayam, Ranshi Sumra Yuna. Mirigdi Jongamataro Juden Tino Yonden Sum Shanyabi, so Shami Jigutendo Yova Mende, the other Rigbadingi Sheros Yonden Sum Shanyam Jizu Zu Midebani, Tishindu, the Muning Doji Yonde to that. Yeja, Sosone, Chigdu, Denver, Yeva Mende, Tidereyan, Sosor, Yonde Namba, Sumdu, Sumsud Jewish was. Tidakaja, Zusad good shit. That Namjusad revolution, that the music Ganga Bish. Kotea Ganga Hako, that can give me the Jessa, Ene karza onju dabal jese yazul jese ado namba saje be ne lel jese gese je da dikese da changje ba de zul jese adi zul sa de dumini do shanya ba se dumini do sa de dedu da yin som se rezig do wa jidan se se dedu da yin se adi da ga nganzo ne dedu se adi de wa ga Kansa Nuya Miki, you but they do Amara.
No.
The Translator, she said, they do Piora. Because the course she said, you so I Devaja, Dugaja, Josia is called the Devaja, so the call Devaja is so this. She said, Deva Yuli ever do it. She said, the Deva, the Dugaga, but they do that you shine myself. The Translator does that. So the Chidan Joa, the Anjul Joa, remember Joan that Juju Hashi is that she that Zo the Translator, the Zoo, yeah, that she was the Anjul Jazz or the Zoo, she go to what in my yard.
Those of you who have this English translation of the guide by Stephen Batchelor's, we are on page 173 and we're looking at stanza 128, 129, before that 127, they are all interconnected, okay, there. So as Keshala explained, that Trangchenpa enumerators or some kayas, they assert that Chizo literally means general principle, but translated as primordial substance, primordial principle, is a cause of everything. And primordial substance or principle, Chiso, is defined as a state of balance of three elements or three qualities. And they could be given different names. What are the interpretations that Geshe gave before, and he still does, is the three qualities could be explained in terms of the three types of feelings, sorwa, pleasurable feeling, unpleasurable feeling, and neutral feeling. Neutral in the sense which are neither pleasurable nor unpleasurable. When these feelings are in a state of balance, equanimity, that is called primordial substance or principles. That is the cause of everything. When things get out of balance, then manifestations happen, right? When we talk about the world, environment of the world and the inhabitants within, Nöju in Tibetan, these are the manifestations of Chiso, the primordial substance. Okay? Enumerators so regard all these manifestations as the result, effect, and primordial substance is the cause. That's the cause and effect relationship between them. And as Geshe explained this before, that according to some kayas, Changchenpa, all the feelings exist in the external objects, isn't it? Normally, when we talk about feelings, feelings are subjective. They exist in beings, isn't it? But enumerators say that these feelings exist in all objects of knowledge. Okay? And how do they explain that? It's because that when we look at the objects of knowledge, sometimes we feel happy, other times we feel unhappy, sometimes we don't know what's going on, neutral, right? They said, why you feel that way? Because these things exist in the object. That's why. Okay? So this is a very kind of a interesting perspective they have, isn't it? Feelings existing in the objects of knowledge. So basically means that every phenomenon has these three qualities, right? These three feelings. And so as Geshe said before, we witnessed the refutation of Ishwar, a permanent being, as a creator or cause of everything. Now some kayas, right, they talk about primordial substance or primal substance, Chiso, a permanent substance, no doubt, but it's the cause of everything. So everything manifested, all of us, are the effect of that primordial or primal substance.
我这个这就是前面意思，是要这在前面这个前面呢，过前面么过年度大人送钱样过，有的时候的话都给大人送，错过出去，这就是效果是吧？现在过的外下都给下大人下送这下肉子，过前面这个么了，我这是但是这是什么的？
So enumerators or samkhayas, Tangchenpas also assert that primal substance or that primal principle, Chiso, I'm using the Tibetan word which will never change. The English translation, different translators might come with different things, is a permanent and also partless. So here the Madhyamekans say, how can you say it is a partless when you already defined it is a balanced state of three things, isn't it? So if there are three things, they have parts. That's not partless, you know. So you cannot say that primal principle or substance is partless, and then at the same time you said, well, pleasurable feelings, unpleasurable feelings, and neutral feelings in a balanced state is primal substance, you know.
我这个是现在。 做这个呀，那电话都给大人送下药的，你下送药的，下送药的，下面一个话是吧？在这个是吧？带那我的，现在快做下面一些谢谢，你过来， 切就这个松皮的鸟啊啥的话，我现在觉得这个产品一下的各个他做这些。
So, Mathematicians refute the Samkhaya's notion of primal substance Chiso as permanent and partless, especially the partless one in this particular case. You know, something that is accepted as partless and something that has parts, right? Either it has to be partless or it has parts, right? Because having a part and not having a part are mutually exclusive, right? It's contradictory to say something is partless and then it has parts. You know, that doesn't work. Okay? So that's actually what Samkhya is saying, that primal substance is partless, is permanent, but then they said, well, it has three characteristics. Well, three characteristics are the part of primal substance. You know.
我这时候在可是，现在就做产品，可能我这是那都当用什么，对我人都什么时候了，对的么不，人都说是那，这那都当用是现在，什么对的也当，那什么靠下什么也吧，在下面一定给这个是吧？我的做下面的个，他做这个我的，这些，你看做下面的个说呢。가서 내 시자 다지 걸 제베 있어야 돼. 가가 로주 가르고 뭐 데리 쪼르 맞아르데 지도 다 지딩 그게 뉴롱수 주도지 쪼지 지도 샤고로 어 됐어요. 자 먼저 레든 가지 레든 샤고 가지 온수 샤고 가지 지도 샤고 가지 되게 뇌도면 다 뭐 여러 단단다 정점이 돼야 돼. 어디야?
Divish Niger Tamjalia can do Tangus Yuba Cabalingo again.
Really? Contagion, no, there's a Daniel song, Dangish killing over that. She do said,
Do with the data.
That quite China because you know, but you don't tell me, once a table music. And quite shook you show that I they are doing the wood show, and so how good is it?
So as Geshe explained, that some Kayas, so they assert that Chisovo, general principle, primal substance principle, is permanent and partless, but then yet it has those three qualities or characteristics. And one interpretation is the three characteristics refers to the three types of feelings, as we just talked about. Or people who love to hear Sanskrit words, right? Primal substance is a balanced state of sattva and raja and tama. Okay, now you got that one. I have to cover that basis too. So somebody might ask me that question, like, there's a tama there. So when primal substance in a state of balance of those three qualities, the three things, it is invisible. Okay? It's imperceptible. When things are out of balance, right? So one of the three things is a little stronger, one is weaker, whatever, right? They're out of balance. Now they become visible. This is how all the manifestations happen. Okay? And primal substance is in the nature of those three things, the three qualities, the three characteristics, sattva, raja, tama. Yeah.
What is your Dakarza? Zu the Karika. Chami said, go. That Chami got out the Karika called the meaning of some child, young Chami is the child quality of Chaki to Mita Sonia Nansen. You got Chami is an take something going to your head or said the two Chami cars here, they were there. Because I did a Rosen moving your do she said that the Chami is the Shason, the Java is a said that Rosen moving your sharma, what is it?
So here the focus on refutation is the notion that primal substance is partless. So when you already define that it's a state of balanced state of three things, so how can you still claim it is partless? Because that's a direct contradictory in your assertion of the notion, right? You already said that primal substance has sattva, Tama, and Raja. Well, this is three: Sattva, Tama, Raja. Sattva, Tama, Raja. So it's not partless. There are three things going on, right? So that's a direct contradiction.
Oh, that's because dig. New Ganga begin. Judo Shiva body in Shizu, you take or Shami jeans. What the dig of that dig as a nine because they killed the Kaza. And she's at a Jungzad with the Inzul showing his shoes, having shows the guard or did that. Go come there as Medogo. Chasom, you say, and Shami is in Jidan go Mungere Zarada.
So once Madhyamikans refute that primal substance is partless because it has three parts, you just said it, three things. So then through that refutation, we also refute that primal substance is a cause of all the manifestations, isn't it? When such a cause doesn't exist, how could it produce everything else you said? These are the manifestations or the effects of that cause.
Was there you do some ready means? The Korashani or the Korashami Yomar Sena, and the Korea the Dumunius of the Shaggy Menega is Yomara, called Shaggy is the Karza, called Good to the DJ is Yomara. Said out the Jill, the Yodesum, the ready May in the court Champion, and Shanya be to Beaguris. Called Yashaggy and the Shanyam Yomara. Or said that judge. Today, Shaggy song to the Shaggy del Zus in the Kosha some Charo.
No.
Shasum Chan and Shami is a Gerura.
No.
What is it?
So when primal substance is defined as a balanced state of three things, right? And if one of the three things not there, then it's out of balance, isn't it? So how can you say it's still partless when you're already saying that it consists of three things, right? A balanced state of these three things is we call primal substance, and that's the nature of the primal substance. So that completely contradicts their own assertion of, primal substance as partless.
Oh, because you did the so Shanyang Bay, so Shami Sigbuted Yeva made it, the Rigbad and gave Sheros. Rigbad and gave this is what because called Shasum, you do Daniels of Shanyam is divided seriously. Suzu says, she said, young called Shami is here, called Shami in Shasum yourself or Shawra. She said, Rosinger, you don't go shot over. She said, you shot out about it.
So when we look at their assertion, so logically, there is what called contradiction, isn't it? When you define primal substance as partless, right? That's one. Then you define primal substance as a balanced set of three things. Is it three or is it partless? Logically, right? We don't have to quote any authority, scriptures here. Logically, look at that. Partless means indivisible. It's just one thing, right? And three things means it has parts, right? So logically, it is contradictory there.
Okay. So there's a yonder some red name, mean, this is Shanya Bay, 2 Migola. The Timena, Jazo, Namjur Namja, Meba, Ni, Hindu, Yarudu, Yoba, Hindu, Yarudu, Jode. Tida Zog, Namjur, the source. What is it? Said yonder so red, men call the Shanya by source and Jato Maris. Could do some Shanya by some duty in the Koshami Rig Maris. What did it do? Said yonder so red, the men is called Dominion of Sana, that they do Daniel Sana. What did it? Mina and call Shanya with Zoo Shadow Maras. Shanya with Zoo Mina. Any coaching this show, Korea Shard, which is the required year, the disease.
Yes. So logically, right, if we look at primal substance Chiso as a balancer of three things, then it definitely is not partless, it has three things. But now if they want to deny every one of these three things, qualities, right, called by different names, right, whatever sattva, raja, tama, feelings, or whatever, well, then a primal substance couldn't exist, right? You already defined it as a state of balanced state of three things, you know. And if primal substance doesn't exist, then that means we cannot feel happy, sad, or, you know, neutral feeling, because there is no cause for that from their school point of view, isn't it? Because our happiness, sadness, these are the effects or the manifestations of primal substance. If the cause doesn't exist, there should not be result. So all the manifestations that some Kayas talk about wouldn't exist at all, isn't it?
What did it cause? The two in China, but the men in the course of it, and do the Shizan, Yizanga, just do say, Yizanga. So that's just to call yourself, you did the men in the Shizan, Yizanga, the Mishar. So that town you call to some the cars as on in the town you call them, they were because no shot of Ganga short the Juru. Mother thought of don't say the Sabon to the cars and it did you got a car or what is the Chizu Shami cars and town you call they were link the car.
So as Krishna explained that once you know, Madhyamikans are able to refute the Samkhaya's notion of a primal substance that is permanent and partless as the cause of everything, all of us, all the manifestations, the environmental world, the inhabitants within, then all of these manifestations could not exist, isn't it? Yeah? So in the Samkhya school of thought, enumerators, their whole presentation is based upon primal substance, right? And 25 categories of objects of knowledge, right? That would include manifestations. So if the primal substance accepted as partless, now you prove that it's not partless, you said it has three things. When that falls apart, then all these 25 categories of knowledge also fall apart, right? So in that way, the whole Samkhaya's system of philosophy, right, you know, is dismantled, right? It becomes invalid. Okay, maybe invalid is a better word. Dismantle sounds like construction. That becomes invalid.
Who did it? Because today you just read a minute to Shanyabi, so Miguela. Timid Dasso, Namja Nanja, Yevani Shedu, Jara Jote, Tenno, so Namju do Devi so. Simeji Pimbo Jubes, Kuala Savala, the Soran he children. Yeva Seva, Nende, Simi be said. Kuala Saba, Namjur Gaze, Mobo Nam. Namju Mobo Nam. The Soti, Juran Shidu, never made the Yuna. Jesus, you move you gonna, they made it. Not move Tamje, they made you rebel, number J, but Jesseman. Man, they, in Bisharo. Can you look that Namjurge, Nabusoji, Joya? Can you look that Namjurge, Nabusoji, Joya? Joya, they saw Shanyabe, Suni in Igona, Timberide. You they saw Shanyabe, Su Terese, driven them, Namso Juan, made Jutsu yoba la rigbe neve tete zu misibar hewa himata bisheros. So that Hisha Taji good in it, Jutsu is adding any gate that may read to Carson. Chino Hisha Taji Jutsu is la, and Jutsu Shami the car to design in good cars are because that number you can get to car to grow. What is it?
No. Well, this is restating the point here, Geshe explaining that Mother Beacons are telling them that once we have refuted or negated your notion, meaning Samkhaya's notion that primal substance or principle, Chitso, is partless, right? Because we show you it has parts, three qualities, then all other like manifestations, effects that are the creations of the primal substance fall apart, right? Because when the cause does not exist at all, then there could not be all of those effects you claim are created by that cause, you know.
Gaden, you namso le jibu deso joina. You know, she namso gabbe say, you namso, teda maybe say, sending jibu deso shanyambe, say, Joyam here in Jode. You do on his burden, David said that. Syria, give me the driven me, good service. You did it on his way. What is that? You did on his way, and then you to do the manner, and then give it to me a shot. Ranjigina was a similar Ranjigina, she was my name is Madame Chevrolet. Or did you want it?
No. So, some Kayas, they assert that cause and effect are of the same nature. Okay? Primal substance, Chizovo, and all the effects of the results, creations of primal substance have the same nature. Yeah. So, being that the assertion, now once Madhyam begins prove that the primal substance as a partless could not exist, right? By their own assertion, it has three qualities, characteristics. Then naturally, the effects which are in the nature of primal substance could not exist anymore, right? Because you asserted the cause and effect as having the same nature. Example we can give is that mitagba, impermanence, and cheba, production, right, are of the same nature. If impermanence doesn't exist at all, then production could not exist at all. Because that's what it means to have the same nature, isn't it? Right? If impermanence does not exist at all, then there could not be production. Right? So likewise, if the primal substance could not exist, then all the effects having the nature of the primal substance could not exist at all.
What is it? So you are the regret never as Tete so missiva, Himatava teacher, Kete Junam so Lene, Dribu de do Joan, she nam so Gabe say, you know so that maybe she Dribu. The so shanyaba, the so and never judge. Yes, you did on his sick way, but David said that. Syrian, you may not driven me go with shadows. What did that? So she good yet, and then driven to the Ranjisi way is here, the Ranjisi way, and it's even without Naisha or what is other, and driven to the guard to the Jesu or Lagmars or that country. But it's a Jew God, Jesu, Shanu, dear Yomari, 말에서는 그 주디 그 좀씩 주저들 그 지도 그런 매워 이 샤스들 리위네가 그 디아요 뭐 디마겐자 아니 지도도 가디는 다 차냐고 요새지 나게래 가스 그래서 리본 가도도 코냐도 가도 가데 가도 코니 정시지라스 로제지는 그 시방가는 미다고 가고 아직 빠졌어.
So Geshe read from the extensive commentary explained that once you refute, on the one hand, primal substance as being partless, because it has three qualities, it has parts, then claiming that all the creations and the manifestations share the same nature as the primal substance will fall apart, isn't it? And also, when the results cease to exist, then the primal substance should also cease to exist because they are of the same nature.
어디 가서 다 주되네 가서 남소서는 남부성에서 남부 두어서 남부 제대로라 남소서 가베 제 리브 대서 샤냐바라 주양 내바 되바 되나 주 땅무서 계란거든 예로스 이다 리브서 메어레드서 주도 메어레서는 주 다바인사데 예사레스 근데 리브서 메어레드서 주 메어 말에 제고디 가르스는 리브다 주인데 랑시지 바라와 랑시지에서 시방가 벤 pomba 시방가 pomba 메자방가 머시아 요마라 어제는 이 시대 랑시지와 손자 가가가고 우리 소지지 와자
So as Geshe explained that, some examples will come up here later, but when they assert that primal substance as cause of everything and everything else, the 25 categories of phenomena are manifestations of primal substance, so once we refute the primal substance as being partless, then it's untenable to claim that the 25 categories of phenomena still exist because they have the same nature. Okay? And also, as we said before, when results or effects cease to exist, then along with that, the primal substance must also cease to exist because they have the same nature. Okay? And if the primal substance ceases to exist, then you cannot claim anymore that primal substance is permanent, right? It's a permanent. And the example, again, Geshe same use is that once we claim that a vase or a pot, right, is impermanent, right? It's not impermanent, then you cannot claim anymore that the vase or the pot is a product, isn't it? Impermanence and product are of the same nature, right? If a vase is no more impermanent, then it cannot anymore be a product. It should not have been produced, right? They are of the same nature. So that's the example.
No, you mind you not the same mammy. Mammy, same go by there's a ringo make yes, that same migba same make yes, that same migba. You are my shadows. What did it? Because this was the source they are doing it. That China be to the Rohita, Kursa, Kotaba Maya Karsanina, and the court, the other doing it, Chizo, Ranshi Sonsa, the other doing it, Chizo Tabaina, the other doing it, Tabaingura. Tina and Yama, the other, the Tavari, the other, doing the Tavari, doing the says dedu sa do paru paru ma ji ma ji den dedu ko ro hi de ma ro jua yo ro jua yo ko ta ma yu sha ro what is it?
As Geshe explained that, asserting that the primal substance is a permanent and partless cause of everything, is a cause of the feelings that we experience, happiness, sadness, and all of that, or pleasurable, unpleasurable. So if the cause is permanent, you asserted, and these feelings are of the nature of the cause, then the feelings have to be permanent, which means if we are happy forever and forever and forever, we should be happy. If we are sad forever and forever and forever, we are doomed, sad, because they cannot change. It's permanent. They have the nature of the primal substance. That's permanent.
남주고 주 파샤니 그런 거 따바 말이스 어디서 그래 따바 니지 양셰바스 제주 따바 남주 남제스 장셰데 메데바 마세 따바 임베 메데체 소스 따바 임베 메데 주데 카르스 코 데둑제로 데둑제데 따바에도 코 데둑제가 야마라 코 데와제네 제시 따바제는 제식 시간을 말이지. 니코 따바에는 그 유도배자 그런 우 유도배는 그 드블 유도 로 말아. 드블 유도를 죽을 조로 어디서 그다.
So the feelings, happiness and unhappiness and others are what we call occasional realities, isn't it? Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are not happy, right? That is what called periodical things, occasional stuff or things. Shouldn't say stuff, but you know what I mean. And moreover, we know that these feelings are brought by causes and conditions. And when the causes and conditions no more exist, these feelings no more exist at all. So that shows us that the causes and conditions as well as the feelings we experience are all impermanent, right? Periodically, they could exist. Periodically, they are not there anymore, right? And so if you claim that these feelings are in the nature of primal substance, which is permanent and partless, then these feelings have to exist, permanently, which is not the case.
Dedu da zo da wa she dribu dedu da wa da wa ina ina dewa nywa se dunga nywa da dunga nywa se ka dedu ga ina devji nyung ro ro ti shi da en da wa dewa da dedu ni jo dunga ni de jo dewa nywa se no dunga nyung ma ro dunga nywa se no dewa nyung ma ro ti ki che da ti so da ko da wa ma yu da ro de 다바에는 그 동해다 대화지 투용도 연구로 대연구도 하시 대화다 동해서 돼 바로 하시게 뭐 된 대화시 돼서 된 동해시 돼 요말 하시 어디서 왔다.
Anybody who's following this text, Geshe has not necessarily explained every stanzas. You know that, some of you know that, but some of you are looking at me like, okay, he's not telling me the stanza number. I can, but he's explaining things there. And if feelings, happiness and unhappiness are, what we call permanent, then they have to exist permanently, right? When you are happy, you should also be unhappy. When you are unhappy, you should also be happy. But that's not what it is, isn't it? They alternate. When I'm happy, that means I'm not sad. When I'm sad, that means I'm not happy. So that couldn't happen because sadness and happiness are permanent, and then they have to coexist, isn't it? But that's not how it works. And so that tells us that the feelings, happiness, sadness, and all of those things are occasional realities or impermanent.
어디지 가서 제가 내도 있다 봐이나 대원유세야 동해뉴에서 대원연구에서는 뒤쪽으로 말 스타트 내적이 가서 뒤에 대화 여정에서 민주반의 동해디建议是 대화대이 참을 수와이 그래서 현에는 ringa dewa tirakpada ringa dewa chawang cheda yimba jurde dewa ti takpa yimba chun dewa mayinam tedar deso teda chawe neka torni rakpada rakpa torni chawa jirwa yina teda deso chara Deda meda beni jola deso so ne meda ina deso shanye bi zuya meda ba ye joro tena deso meda ba ti de gezi ki shir minde di never de reso kede Rabat devale de rabale de tishina ragba lojang dewa de cha dewa chitar maso par nyungola devale de hemina dewa sewa teya medawa yedi jode ragba gaze dewa yangabe Shendi joa jevi shero. Dirtsawa dewa sewa medani jeyeva dar. Shena sewa sheba namjula sheba yina. Yang dewa sewa sheba yeva dar shena shene dewa yang sewa meda jevi. Shizu yue jang yue dos. Hotel dakaji dewa de chamo churza ene dunge segine mingo segene ene ko chamo da rakwe de ka joyo yeza ene ko ta wa re mara ko jojo ko jeza ene dewa da to de du chanya ba ta wa ya te mu dus kar o ta disi ta mingo de kar ko dewa shuk she shine chig segi no ne dewa shuk she mo nyu de Dunga di mingo se dunga shukshaba dewa mingo se shigur se sinata ene ko tapa rigmarwa junto rigmarwa
So we are on page 174, stanzas 133, 134. Anyway, they go together there. Should some Kaya say, or maybe they do say this, that feelings, happiness or unhappiness, or pleasurable or unpleasurables do coexist, But what's happening is that when you have such a strong unhappiness or unpleasurable feeling, because of its great intensity, the happiness or the pleasurable feeling, remains a little bit more subtle, isn't it? But when the happiness is very strong, pleasurable, then it overcomes the unhappiness or the unpleasurable feeling, and that becomes subtle. Yeah? That's how it's able. They do exist together. That one is a little stronger, the other is a little weaker. That's how it's happening. Well, then the Madhyamika says, well, then that means that you are talking about feelings at the coarse level and subtle level. Well, this coarseness and subtlety means they are impermanent, isn't it? How can feelings be sometimes kind of very manifestly strong, and sometimes they are kind of subtle, right, hiding there, because it cannot be. But that tells us that these feelings are, impermanent, not permanent as you claim.
Gente yungo namju tu na yeba shada yin ge se wone yuwa kona shata je. Judu na meba gayang ju je ne sadu ni kiwa mende ju tu na mewe shirda kede ju tu na yana ju tu kede ju tu na meja kena shima leja marjo so talo shen de la Teta se give tonya jibu nyugu rohi jusamoji tuna yejang lu di mesewa la jen chulu so je se sewa sheba la nyugu jao she jewa yin she na ni she na teta jen chulu so je sewa sheba la nyugu je jewa she no she na as 다就是可能联系，有刚刚的长线可能他听不明白的，只不刚刚就就是有时候是吧？变得性格这么些呢，行动坚定的这些，就在行动坚定的话，这都不叫，都不那个时候是吧？我的都不那个行动坚定那个有的时候，可能是这有可能是过。不真正这些呢，个行动的真正行呢，个这是真正女把提个和让他提个着，你要咱们这这个呢，行动把这么这些咱们这行动或者刚才如果脾气那个是吧？现在，他这里呀，就你这样着的，你把这样着的呢，绕的你把考虑的个行动的可能有的没个介绍的了是吧？现在你把这个我行动坚定那个了是没劲，你啥话同我个有话就，就听的只有唱这个的开了早的呢，这是就听的只有唱这个的开了早的。
I'm blessed by some background talking here. Do you hear it? Ah, yeah. Trashi confirms what I'm hearing. I'm not hallucinating. Yeah, Trashi confirms what I'm hearing. I'm not hallucinating. I can wait. I can rest. Now, one of the main assertions of some Kaya's enumerators, Tangchenpa, is that results exist at the time of the causes. Okay? Results or effects exist at the time of their causes. That's one of their main assertions. Yeah. And the example Geshe has given is really a nice one, actually. They said, look at the tree, right? And so you cut the tree into different logs, isn't it? They said they have the same the nature of the tree. If you have a sandalwood tree, even if you cut them into many logs, they still smell sandalwood, right? And they still have the texture of the sandalwood. So they said the effect exists, right, in the causes or at the time of the causes. That makes sense? That's the one of the big assertions. Otherwise, the effects could not come into existence, right? They have to exist at the time of the causes. Otherwise, the causes cannot produce their effects. Geshe-la's words produce some echoes. So as Geshe explained, that some Kayas enumerators, they assert that effects or the results exist at the time of the causes, otherwise the causes could not produce the effects. And example Geshe given us is a very interesting one. A sandalwood tree, it stands as a tree, is sandalwood, it smells sandalwood. Cut the tree into many pieces, it still smells sandalwood, it has the same texture. Now you put it on a weighing machine, it still weighs the same weight. That's why it effects exists at the time of the causes. And then we said, well, that means you cannot really talk about something being produced, isn't it? Right? That whole language of production, right? You cannot talk about it because effects already exist, right? At the time of the causes, they said, oh, no, we can. We talk about what is called visible result, effect, and invisible effect, isn't it? In the case of a seed, when it sprouts, it becomes visible. That sprout is a visible result of the seed. But sprout exists in the seed, is an invisible effect. You don't see it. That's how they said, the results exist in the causes. Okay, so they are making these categories of visible effects or results and invisible effects or results. So when things become visible, we call it production. Things are produced, isn't it? A seed produces sprout, you can see it. But the sprout is in the seed, you didn't see it, it's there, it is invisible effect.
What is it? Number sensing use it. You will need your concept. You don't want to think about someone top head. You call you about it. You know, telling about myself, you make to my mara.
No.
That didn't show you just the guessing the dodging is over. Yeah, make to my over sales. But I think someone to you at the over myself. But you got the dribble over sales of the over myself.
And so that the farmers at the right season, they cultivate their field, they put all the seeds into their field. Right, they said all the sprouts that will germinate from the seeds already exist in the seeds. What we call it, remember, miseval debu, invisible effects. Right? Now you water it, the rain comes down, you fertilize it, right? You do whatever you do, and then wait for a while, and now the seeds will germinate, right? It will sprout. Now that time you can see it, right? This is called visible effects or the results. So that's what we call production. Now seeds have produced sprouts or their effects visibly.
What did it? Karsa. Me that you go to Mombasa. You saw me to the Meva. Chi John, Churchang Dela. He said, you do not, maybe you study John, Chumindu John, Tonke Lambala, Kelambala, never need you, do we? Tanya Mindeba said, or she some Yana, Sawas of Company, Ranhila TV. Nami sadi jawa ni chu mindu ba shendu sawa de namjula tuna yang nami sadi jawa mindu ni chu mindu jang tindu go ba te jone never yede rigba sumbi sheba yedo judu ni jibu yeba Musum la tokbe se rigbe gorbane kede gyula dribu yungo bas mesewa ranshi tamide gitsuri yebar nena sen sawe tse mezama sawa ta jode ju sen konge ranshi da dribu mezama ranshi ni Chamegi, Jigdela, Singongi, Sovanayan, Jibu, Mizoma, Shartse, Mumbara Mese, Soso Sedo, maybe Shero. Here, Rigoji, Rinji, Reveji Sabun, Yela, Tidachi, you go at Chihida. Tija, Changla Java so. Rigoji Shawashi, Jude. Rigoji Rashida, Ti Sabun Yirahi, Shavi Chu Devi, Shero. Jideba na Mongbe Judu, Jidima na se, Jideba na Mongbe Judu na Jibu Yuva Maton Sing. Ribe Samuda Ryuxin Yuva Maton, Ribe Samu. Medava in the Shena, Luna, Chege, Tomba Chongsu, Serjala Sova, Judun Dribu Yuve, Shibe, Tamji Chema Deva Tina, Rangu Shaba Tini, Tedagi, Jinjang Chege Jang, Dugebe, Sensa, Mezama Sawa so Jur Sheba, Yana Tini Shivan Devi, Chegi, Toma Nanjijan, Rigi Sawan, Rigo Yuvi, Namsha, Hina, Sawan Goribala, Timmy Gobar, Rigo Kona, Nengi, Chomba, Tongue, Chomba Tongue, Judus, G2, Jibumeva, Selo, Hes, the churches, Zigdim Momba, Juduna, Jibuyeva, Tom, She, Gede, Churdan, Julan Jibuyeva, Shiva, the Serjasoji. Jiso Shubi, Jidima Nam La Yang, Tiava Ji, the Tonga Mainde. Tenda Naya Rang Dombe, Debi, Trubda, Le Shiva there, Debi sauce. Judy, Jimena, this is what I said. You better to Lord you go in to Lord New York, in the Telia, to Lord Yo, Shakers, Gildu Yorba. I think but to corner to go see no she corner to get us. In the sense that it's on a dread of side is on dress at the Mizasa Tagaris, because a Jew that do going on his radio. But this on that this says, because you do dread says Mizasa, you say, or this. In the revenge, so you are the red Yomogoshe, Munkoran so cold and diggerous.
So we are on page 175, and so because some Kayas assert that cause and effect have the same nature, right, and effects do exist in the causes or at the time of the causes, so they talk about manifest effects, visible or unmanifest or invisible effects. So mathematicians are saying that in which case, say when you eat food, then it would be same as you are saying you are eating what the food will become, right? Waste products, feces, poops, right? Because poops are the results of eating, because we have to get it out of the system somewhere, because they are the same nature. Yeah? Or they might say the clothing and the seeds, that's the example there, but Geshe gave his example a little bit. He said money and the clothes we buy, they are of the same nature, isn't it? Money is the causes, we buy clothes, so then why you even go to buy shopping? Wear the money as your clothes, right? Because that's the same as the clothes that you are going to shop around, right? So that's what the mathematicians are pointing out to them.
这台湾州都做逆着是吧？变成人要问题呀，空这个谁这些，谁啥都是没长啥个这些，可觉得这个有人呢？我这你台湾的都做着逆着对吧？
So the two things are pointed out. Number one, of course, that's not exactly the same example, but it's the clothing and seats. But Geshe said, so they would like to ask the Samkhayas, enumerators. So would you say that instead of buying clothes, you can wear the money as your dress? Because money buys the clothes, that's the result, and money and the clothes have the same nature, right? Why even bother shopping, you know? Save time in the footnote. Or would you say that when you eat food like a rice, because it will become waste product later, so would you say that while you're eating rice, you're also eating what it will become of, the effect, they have the same nature?
Yul drivu ngombar mesewa ranghin tame de sudi ngeba nina sen sawe tse mesawa sawa tawa jorde de gyu senghong ke ranghin da drivu mesawa ranghin ni chame chik de la senghong ko sawa na yewe se drivu mesawa chate se ngomba mese so se de ya maybe chero se he ya rego je se rige rebe ji sabo chomlas che ji go ji se da ti jo changna ja ba so rego ji sha se ba jurde rego ji ra ji de ti sabo ji ra ji 이 샤미지 시부치데 비셔로 지데바나 몽베 유트는 지부여바 마동신 제베 이사본의 지부여바 마도에 제베 이사본 메고와 이는 시는 오늘 저기 또바 청송 세자라서 봐 주드는 지부여바 tīñi xīpa tāngchī chēmpa dēwa, tīnāng xī rāngxī rānglu lā xiāpa tīñi, tītā kī jīrāng chē kī chāng dēwa gōwē, chē sēn sāwa, mē sāwa sāwa sō gyur xī bā hāṁ. Yāng nā tīñi xīpa dēwa chē kī tōpa nāng kī chāng rē jī sāpa re rigu yebe namsha tingi shen samu gorigba la migoba re kona nengi chomba tongi yudus ribu meba selo sheshe che jigden mungbe yudus ribu yoba madong shewa yede chedane yön jibu yöve se dini sheba sejaso jisu shubi jidema namla yang te yoba ne chede tonga mayinde tinde namsha ki tombe tembe chubdala neba chubdale sheba tara devi sheros tire ta seda göle kaza sez meza sağcı saydı ene sensebe bige jolni mezan ya de seyin rangi cikwa res şimdi koni se sta mezan de ba sense de ko los ba se paton ya de yomar vasko umba mezan ya ro umba se de paton joro ta se umba se mezan paton ya mezan da ka sense de mezan ji be sa ga cha ja se 또 아이는데 매사 봐 세거야 사는 지로 어째 두세 지대가 가가 되지 대처하고 아니 배 주대 캐주로 되지다 디 진짜 관계 어디 제가 세사의 매사서 하시 세니 저런 배에 무유나라 이는 거는 뭐 오셔야지 이제 뭐 이제 두고 요거야 믿다 거는 거는 이거를 봤어 어디서 왔다
So, I mean, Geshe already said it before, maybe this might clarify more that Madhyamikans are pointing out to the Samkhayas because you accept that results or effect exists in the causes at the time of the causes and they have the same nature, then would you say that when you eat food, you are also eating feces? Because feces are invisibly in the food. Right, that's your invisible effect story, right? Only when you poop it out, then it's visible. So would you say that you are eating? But that really goes against the worldly conventions, right? I mean, nobody's going to say you're eating foods, but in your philosophy, that's what it should be. So why even bother shopping for your clothing? Go to the stores, because the clothing already exists invisibly in the money, currency, dollars. Okay, so just wear the dollars, right? And why you have to go shopping? Because dollars and the clothing have the same nature.
Oh, did you? Because she does it. Jigdim Mumbai, you didn't do your mother. She get the church doesn't do you be Shiva, Serjaso, Joseph Joy, Jideba Nam Layang, Yovati, Tom Maide, Tidana Rang Tombe, Tembe, Chudai Shiva, Chudali Shiva, do so. Jideba Nam Jundegi needs Tom Seman, ye member, you the Jew, Meadows, 오늘 지대만 나지데 나 누구 주불에 누구 따고 남주를 뭐 벌어서 통화 내가 많이 받다 지게를 통화 세마 많이 비셔로서 주변 남주들 여바는 법에 리과데 시와는 어머님 벌레죠 Nindrada Samuji Nana Yeve Nindrada Pume Jeva Doba Dola Pu Shaye Nandu Janidam Segenana Shisaso Hingla Barso Medonshi Kanshi Mosun Tonshi Bongsheba Tene Dema Sidayin, Yeso Somus, Tati, Di Drigwati, the Omanibuna, Lonely Days, Omanibuna, Song Shasi, Joju, the Mariwaji, Kaja, You'll do the machine, Passia with it. Cursa says that the Mizan, what is the Ganga, Chivari, Shing, Nindota, some of the Nindun Jumbo Yungurwada, Nindun Jobas in the bed. 행동시험을 기본적인 거라. 다 뒤사고 리부 타고 다가 노도셔. 그 행동시험도 요요죠. 다 뒤에 가다 무슨 무슨데 가지죠.
No. So the reasons that we have witnessed really comes from what great Indian master Baba Viveka Lengdenche has presented in one of his works called Umanyingbo, Essence of the Middle Way. And as Kisla explained already, that if cause and effect have the same nature, effects already exist in the cause invisibly, then they may have to say that when you eat food, you are eating feces, because feces already invisibly exists in the food. That's what it will become of, isn't it? And so that goes against worldly conventions, and also that because from your philosophical point of view, feces cannot be separated from the food, isn't it? Because they're invisibly one. Are you with me? If they're different, then we remove the feces, we eat the food, and we just remove the food. But no, because they're invisibly, because ordinary people can't see it, so it's invisibly there. So when we eat food, are we saying we are also eating the feces as well? Or when we don't have to go and do shopping here, right? Can we wear the dollars as our clothing, because all the clothes that we could purchase with the dollar already invisibly exist in the dollar, right? And would you say that?
What did you go so? Shibani Gede, Semaso Kongba Jungi, this is the Tela Changseva Nari, Chu Omawa Dana Young Gede, Sema Ton Tambara, Sema Mena, Zumbe Sema, Zumbe Sema. The Hewa, Heza Hewa, Hewa Dar Medewe, the Shinshiro Zumba Munjuram de Jogola, Nijude Tina, Tina, Che, Domani Goma, Shinshiro, Zumba Yudin Jude, Tony Zizi, Sema, Zumba de Hewa in Bati Sherry. Medavan Giro Hena, Koja Omabe Lola, Tony Zizi Samada, Ti He, Tony Niga Zumba Yimbe, Che Tedo. Tedu Tabe Mola, he was Gaza Pumba Dindro, Demba Tomorrow Gani, Trouble Tani. Gabi Hirchove, Move the He some Yana, Didi you draw that way, Gaja Move Dindro, Tabula, Tobe Marigba Day. Kede, Demara Tuna, Didaba, she go Yamni in the Tabe Mazung Sing Nava Mashawa, Dindro, Move maybe. Kapa dendon teyon tobe mikim zimba mayinde dendro jugo kane deme seme ngeba kasa dendro je namba lu di shawala rale bi sheru ta mu sham Tongoro motion pu namba mashawa motion pu shive se namba mashawa shenos. The Gaza Kanji, they know, they may send it over in Gaza, they know how go this. But the girls of the motion pu said, Nizu Hamo, motion pu no me, and it's Haku Maris. See. Can't check in a chase to Kora, you did have more, and the call Jeva Joya Maris, what did it?
Motion put the pick on the shot again.
Motion puts the missing, she's a missing person.
Motion put me about how cover culture.
Motion put no to me, the Motion put said, Kona, you Muzi to Hako good, Majabu said, Carolyn be Hamona, could know you made a Jivasha Yamara. Could you call a hit Hakos on the call Hinajava Jogura? What is it?
I think what Geshe read and started to explain pertains to stanzas 138 at the bottom of page 175 and the other back side of the page. So here, some other migrants are explaining that in order to understand emptiness of true existence, right, it is essential to precisely identify true existence, the object of negation, right, without which you cannot understand how that does not exist, right? In order to understand the emptiness, in this case emptiness of true existence, we should have clear notion of, hypothetically speaking, what true existence means, you know. And the example given is that of a child of a barren woman, right? For us to understand that a barren woman cannot bear a child, right, then we have to have that concept, understanding how that's impossible, right? If we are clueless about, right, then we might even think that a barren woman's son and daughter exist somewhere, right? They don't, right? So, of course, it is a very profound topic. We will pick it up next week because we have 2 birthdays to celebrate and 2 cakes to eat. I mean, that's a lot. 3 actually, or 4, or it's getting multiplied here. So we will stop there, and we will quickly do our prayers and dedications, and then we will switch to the event, happy birthday event. So you have this booklet, right? Lord Gyaltsen, Bega Dizzy, Uzang Pove, Judo, Minba Shin, Denba Zinla, Wando Giche, Daniel Chugun Chola, Sowa, page 5. Mawa Dame, Gunyan Doma, Den, Kari, Jongso, Nida, Seze, Jamgun Yawa, Niwa Yapse, Transon, Dinzi, Mawe, Shiba. Tenzin Dorjee, Yingguan Zebe, Xie Nigun Changzhou, Longdao Namzhe, Bebe, Beiyuan Jian, Geshe Gyeltsen, Wendo, Shabde, Tesang, Guangdang, Zeze, Zongbe, Yongzhou, Yure, Tobe, Nyaki, Longri, Dejian, Nube, Beden, Ba, Tobden, Kangri, Dona, Gongmen, Zeba, Namda, Dendang, Robe, Pende, Zhongbe, Lendo Jumi, Chibe, Tenle, Geshan Dorjee, Dendo, Shabden, Jizhen, Lame, Toge, Melamda, Geshan Dorjee, Dendang, Zame, Chozon, Dodo, Jido, Domba, Jida, Memben, Dungu, Lendo, Sho, page 9. Ramjan Shinge, Wombo, Zeba, Zodo, Namje, Yeyun, Doma, Jojo, Seye, Lazo, Tamje, Daden, Mishi, Choge, Mudu, Tubden, Jedang, Losan, Yao, Shidu, Denban, Zembe, Dorjee, Yunge, Shenyan, Jo, Yangzhe, Ninje, Hongbo, Shabden, Jiden, Sungwe, Chana, Beme, Denben, Zawa, Soso, Tawa, Namda, Sudi, Yangda, Longba, Losan, Yenden, Bedo, Shabden, Tojo, Gyaltsen, Nonzin, Yangbe, Shen, Samjo, Namje, Changzin, Junbe, Bongzhong, Shela, Songjo, Debe, Tenbe, Ngada, Jimbo, Shabden, Sho, Chebe, Dongwa, Gowa, Bojo, De, Junbe, Rilan, Siyu, Bongzha, Junbe, Dunden, Leje, Dangja, Jo, Kedo, Xinyin, Qingbo, Shen, Kebe, Langdo, Guji, Zeda, Ze, Junbe, Chara, Niezo, Rangsa, Sangbe, Dorjee, Ligun, Yixie, Ngo, Shumden, Xinyin, Qingbo, Xiade, Tesang, Rulang, Jobe, Dende, Menjong, Daje, Zangme, Sije, Labjin, Zedin, Dende, Besha, Wa, Zende, Xinyin, Qingbo, Xiade, Chozon, Gyawa, Seje, Qinla, Dang, Tuden, Damjin, Songme, Daja, Lasan, Dabe, Denbe, Jida, Membe, Dungu, Lendo, Shu, Changzhou, Simzhou, Rinpo, Maje, Bana, Meba, Yang, Gongde, Gongdo, Bewa, Shu, Dongyi, Dawa, Rinpo, Maje, Bana, Yeju, Yewa, Nyamba, Meba, Gongde, Gongdo, Bewa, Shu, Sa, Shi, Beje, Yuji, Medo, Zhang, Rira, Binxie, Yinde, Yenba, De, Sangye, Shindo, Mede, Dōgōyān nāndā shīnglā jyōpa shō kārē rāwē kōrvē shīngān sō pēntān tēwā mālē jōvē chērē sēwā tēnzīn gyāzō chāvē sīdē bā tēngyō jē yidāng gōrō rāndā māndē lā nīyāndā yā mē gyāwā kuṇḍō yāndā lāmā dāng dēmē chēgyē bēlā lōngyē jē sādā lāngyē yuñ Noon exactly. 가르쳐야 I know. Okay.
14th Dalai Lama to address the gathering.
Wait. Yeah. All right. Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen okay. And they should have pushed over this. And push on it. Okay. Tibetan style, anything can happen, so it pops up. Okay, now I got it. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Anyway, I'll make it up if I don't get it. So first, they would like to play His Holiness video speech that he gave yesterday when his birthday was celebrated in India with a grand, right? So Geshe Chamba, the director, asked me to summarize in a nutshell and translate to you. And then after that, Tenzin Dorjee, because he speaks English, so I'm retiring soon, so he has to speak English. He will speak his message. And then after that, we will do the long live puja of His Holiness so that we can make offerings to His Holiness, all of that. And then we will request our precious teacher, Guru here to cut cakes, I guess. I have to use plural. And then enjoy the cakes. So those who, not required, meant it's optional thing. When Geshe Chamba stands up and make kada offering, if anybody wants to do that, then you can do that after him. That's what he said. And so when the cake is distributed to all of you, while you're enjoying the cake, also sheets and pen will be passed to you. Then whatever money payment whom you accumulated within a month, and whatever other mantras we said, please write your name and put the number there. Okay?
You can come forward. I have the sheets here.
Yeah. So that will pass, and you can write your name and put it there. Okay. Yeah.
14th Dalai Lama to address the gathering.
Ana samologi shiga samlaya gasorgi sonaro shukshamo chejete zomisha atushisa sigin kadada ngare 내 샤샤나 지는 밀리지 탑디어래 지 밀리지 임백원에 미지기 싸웠다 지기지가 러시아서리 그 주니지 다 양거 강조도 최다서 로봇진의 용어 인도산에 아니 최저부터네 분도 미리기 상호대에 야 숙셔부지 어리 아니 다 냠랭 그 소대 지주의 소원의 신기 샴페인의 로데 개치시 차대 열에 지대입 인도산에 매년에 지주 상부 시우지登기에 사대의 인도 조화스저 탐자로 랑게 년도 때네 근데 랑게 고순진의 지유거지 샹전에 판버죠 상문단대야지 내 체득이 열에 저서 애네 들대 애네 내 제가 그 투진이야 지나서 먹고지 가보셔셔도 스페어래 투셔셔 쇼이 다 지성기 메모즈 디 애네 가서 셴든 남주 때인도잖아요 애네 말을이야 그루 지금으로 지구도 야 땅에 셴베 저주고 섬 냠는 지요래 디 저우 민망고 가보쳐 저기고 있는 땅 나래만에 랑지지가 상무단에 나라라 미 가보쳐 주나 상무단에나 영야디 탈시티 소설 닭배 셔주를 자주고 습사티 니고 리베데네 서로세 지도 담배이나 아니고 신기 가보치는 소유하디 런신기 뒤나 차이고도 와 아니 내가는 샤샤네 그 자주에 선사하디 다 내냠랭기 또체세 상당히 네가 쉬우지 쳐보래서 아니 자주고 습그 좋아래야 동리가 따와서 되게 심지도 동리가 따와 송도저 타네 에 니샤 초지 뒤지도 스케르잖아 고만아라 남지께요 고방 토야기 주로 멍시디 딩션도 조교래 아다보도다 로디데잖아요 제 간다 제 르르 사실 저 도시 몇 군데를 근데 되게 좋으시네 아니 다자를 붙여다 아니 리그를 붙이 아니 차를 붙이 코나저 군진의 진행에 연소주 대년 교다다 보도 내 결론은 도시 때뭐 손제 도스테리에 아니 가다 미수투이네 그 샴페인을 뭐지기 스무션이 투요리 저자들이 이르자네 다 미르토가 더도 대버시 대대로 냠네 야오 제윤이 그런 거를 식을 하고 내 기본적으로 심 땡케 안에 총르아리 다 안으로 고치는 실내되어리 지 대전에야 냠래 갈락하고 디 럭셔리 심 투어드 쇼어드 아니 지 신내다 상도 거래에 강성 그 성단체 되게 어딘지 인도 다 나는 말한 성단아 내 미시 동서를 주기 매대시 도구도 양식 미 달라라마 레스지 쇼우치가 자바이네 마제지하는 메두 제 마라마라 소소 나다 그듯이 보거라 상로 그들이네 코디기도 제대들이 이들 다 전대의 전장 대로지가 많네 다 메모를 샴디주야 템벌을 샴디주야 다 그저 두두지기 다 샴디주야디 다 내라래 조리 엔다 아도모도 시 샴베 자주 semki 다 자주 sem지만 뭐이모다 고글리리아 모두 거울에 가다 샴뱅글로 되기 심베타네 네 미지기기 요래 에디 메마즈 제게 가서기 시기 샴뱅기 그게 군루체니 판도 제베 저기 미수 가보셔야 돼 숙셔부도가 산티데 이르자네 캐나도 사물로야 투시시도 시야이 에 되게 나로 고줄레베 아니 다 총각은 자고 뒤토래 캐나도데 메몽구치 존재다요래 디 차에서는 레고 말에 생각되네 샹고다 가설산이 영어래 디리이르 간 믹스에게 투시 전 쇼이 아니 캐나도 디디 지성게 나라야 싸워요 디저게 캐나도 안에 답배 세제를 자주 웃으면서 되다 돈이 있다고 그래서 토도게 담는 나로 나와서 쉬어야 아니 제 개면도 투시를 투시세
Okay, my job starts. Dear Dharma friends, and I can see that many of you have gathered here for my 98th birthday, and you all look super happy and joyous, and thank you for being here. I have attained precious human rebirth, and as a human being, I share my love with others, and coming from the land of Dharma, I also developed this spiritual bond with you, and as stated in the Bodhisattva Guide, that cherishing others is extremely precious state of mind, and that is my main practice. So every day I do whatever I can physically, verbally, and mentally to benefit sentient beings, cherishing all the beings. So my the main practice consists of bodhicitta, altruistic mind of enlightenment, and I think as a result of this practice, cultivating bodhicitta, then many people here and around the world really love me and like me. I think that's the result of developing bodhicitta, and which means that I don't go along with self-cherishing attitude there. And so when you develop bodhicitta, it's just natural that people are attracted to you and they like you. So that's my experience. So I see that you all look very, very joyous today. And I personally find the bodhicitta very, very powerful state of mind. And I first received my full bhikshu ordination in the presence of Shakyamuni in Lhasa, and the ceremony was presided over by Tara Rinpoche, Ling Rinpoche, and Tijan Rinpoche. And since then, I have always kept honored this recognition that I am a fully ordained bhikshu, Buddhist monk. And I feel that I have made my human life meaningful. I have not wasted it. So when I die, I will have no regret, and I will die with full confidence. I have also, practiced. As a result of my practice, I'm able to subdue my mind, find more peace in the mind, and I also try to integrate shamatha and vipassana, calm abiding, and spiritual insight practice. So people might praise me, or Your Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and all of that. I really never experienced any ego, however much they praise me as Dalai Lama. And I always feel I'm a simple Buddhist monk following the footsteps of Shakyamuni Buddha. And I have done whatever I could in the service of Buddha Dharma. And so my main practice consists of bodhicitta development and integrating that with the wisdom realizing emptiness. And you have all gathered here out of your own choice and willingness. Nobody is forced to be here today. And so your happiness and joy also motivates me that I should focus more on developing cherishing attitude towards others. So my main practice is bodhicitta and emptiness. And if you love me, and you do, all of you, so I encourage you to cultivate bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness. So thank you very much again being here to mark my 98th birthday. Translation over. Now I believe we will hear Trukut Tenzin Dorjee, right? The Venerable Masters monk said, could you please maybe hold for a second? We'll do the cake cutting, and then we will. You can continue right later. We'll take a break here so that we have a time to cut the cake, and then Geshe-la can retire. Yeah, hold for a second, okay? Thank you. Please take your seat. You will get a chance to come back and pay respect. So cake suit bere. Cake to suit bere.
We're going to serve the cake first, and then after that, you can offer your prata separately. To take cake, and then he can retire to his abode. Yeah.